Welcome to AI podcast in healthcare. Today, we're gonna attempt to tackle the question that whether AI is actually smart or really good at faking it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is it smart or dumb? This is the question. But first, when I remember my health informatics days at the University of Minnesota, AI back then was quite useless.
Really?
Yeah, so what people were, it was not a hot topic, and people didn't go into it as a career very much, especially in healthcare IT areas.
Oh, sure.
I think, though, it really changed recently. So I would like to ask, can we go over the history of AI briefly?
Yeah. I like history, I like AI, so it's a perfect amalgamation. But you're right. I think for a lot of people, AI was maybe something they thought about in Star Wars or Star Trek, and it's like this crazy far off thing until like more recently. But its history goes back over 100 years. And I think the term itself kind of it's like, okay, what is artificial intelligence? Technically, the first computers could be thought of as artificial intelligence, and to some extent, the definition of AI or artificial intelligence has had the goalpost moved. I mean, the first computer was back in the 1800s by Charles Babbage, and the first electronic computer was in like the 1940s. And I think to some extent people were thinking, oh wow, technically those are artificial intelligences because it's doing a job a human would normally do, but by a machine. Even a cognitive task such as doing math, right?
Yeah.
But I remember when the first smartphone came out. Or even and then especially after that, the first Siri, and people thought, "Wow, this is amazing. Siri's amazing." And nowadays, people hate Siri because she's super dumb, and most people wouldn't think of her as an AI. But I mean, in a very raw sense, Siri is very much an AI. But I think what a lot of people think of, or at least when they think of artificial intelligence, what they're probably more thinking of, and what you're referring to, I think, is neural networks. And the history of those go back, again, to the 40s or 50s, when some researchers were studying the giant squid neuron, mainly because it's a very, very large neuron. I think it's about a meter long, or maybe even longer. So it's for one cell. So very easy to study and look at the inner workings. And from that, there were two researchers called McCulloch and Pitts. And they came up with the idea of an MP neuron. And essentially what that is it's a single node where you have your inputs and you have what's called an activation function, and then you get your output. Well, they realized, oh, wow, if you have that neuron and then maybe you stack other neurons in tandem with it or even in different layers, you can create some simple networks that can do tasks that are hard to mathematically derive. And there were a few other advancements since then. Well, again, that was in the 40s or 50s. They weren't, like you said, when you went to school. You went to school was it the 90s?
Yeah, 2005.
2005, okay, yep. So even then, the computing power on the scale that is needed for a raw intelligence just has not existed. And so there have been incremental developments in that time in machine learning on the mathematical side, but at the end of the day, what's really needed is a lot more compute and a lot better computers. And we finally started to get those around, 2010. 2012 is when people would call the pivotal moment in AI, because that's when there was an algorithm called AlexNet that they implemented an existing algorithm that had already been around for decades, but they finally did it with some powerful computers, or it was powerful at the time, and it had very, very impressive results using a neural network. And since then, people realized, wow, the vision of what can happen with just a raw neural network. And they led into the transformer architecture in 2017. And I think for a lot of people, the breakthrough moment was GPT-3 in 2000 or 2019. And then for the average person, when they finally released the GPT 3.5 version in 2022.
Yeah, I do remember that moment, ChatGPT 3.5, realizing, wow, this can transform healthcare.
It's insane.
Yeah. So then the question of this is AI smart or dumb?
Smart or dumb?
We still, researchers like LeCun, still thinks that the LLM is not the answer.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So, we do also, a lot of people find that sometimes, the answers that they get from ChatGPT misses some points and or hallucinate. Right. So what is going on?
What is going on? Well, one thing I will say, kind of as an aside, sometimes I read these research articles, especially in the medical field. I have no idea why. And they'll say, oh, this AI is so bad, so bad. And then you go and look and see what model they're using. And it's 3 years old. And you're like, come on. I know you guys are poor, but you're not that poor. You can use a better model. But yeah, you're right. I think Jan LeCun has a little bit of a point where LLMs maybe aren't the end goal of AI or an AI that it comprehends. But man, you've already attested to this. You can get so far, and they already are so intelligent.
Yep.
And so it's not like a binary thing, a one-off of is it smart or is it dumb. A lot of it kind of comes down to, okay, it's two reasons. One, was it in the training data? It's just it is mathematical at the end of the day, and a lot of it's based off of the data it was fed. And then two, are you using it properly? Just like anything, AI is a tool, and if you don't use it properly, it's going to give you some bad results. And so if you expect it just to solve all your problems by giving it a one-word prompt, or you don't give it the proper resources it needs, it's probably going to act very, very dumb because it doesn't understand what you want.
Yep.
So that's kind of like not a very helpful answer, but it's a lot. I mean, it's the brief version.
So so obviously it's a tool.
Right. Yep.
Then we should, we should be thinking about the ways in which we should use it in healthcare versus avoid using it as in healthcare. How would you recommend the people in the healthcare to look at the AI tool, and how do you want them to approach?
Sure, right. Well, I'm not a practicing clinician, but from my knowledge of how to use an AI, I think, I mean, you've attested to this already yourself, but even from my understanding, looking at different benchmarks and tests that people run, even like the public ChatGPT version you use, or any of the strong, powerful AI models, they're already better than a lot of your average physician on a lot of just pure intelligence benchmarks. Now, you might have the problem where you start to use it in real life and it's giving you maybe horrible answers, or it just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
A lot of times, what I end up seeing when people, whether it's healthcare or any sort of prompting in general, when they are getting some horrible results like that, oftentimes what's happening is what we call your context is not being properly managed. And what is context? Well, context is whatever information is relevant to your example that you're giving. And can I give you a little bit of an example or step back?
Yeah, sure.
So in the large scale of things, a lot of these AIs were trained on vast amounts of internet data and hand manually annotated data, right? And that makes sense. Now, have you ever gone to the internet and found something that was incorrect?
Of course.
But so there are incorrect things on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So just think, that is also most likely in the training data of your LLM, of your AI model. And obviously they do some what we call post-processing things after that to try to make the answers more and more accurate. But that's still partially in the training data, right? And you're going to have good answers and wrong answers. Well, the AI it's not so smart. It's not magical where it knows what's right and what's wrong. It knows what it has been given for training data. And so if it has correct answers and wrong answers, well, there is a probability that those wrong answers will get exposed sometime or brought up as answers. So that's where it's like, okay, the AIs are already very, very, very competent, very smart. But they do have some inaccuracies or maybe some use cases that maybe is not your preference. So that's where context comes in, where what context is giving all the information necessary to, one, provide a proper diagnosis, and then two, probably output in the way that you desire and you intend. If I have a headache and I go to ChatGPT and I say, I have a headache, there's so little context to go off of that. Any physician, any clinician would have a hard time, right? But if you say, okay, I haven't drank water for 3 days, I didn't eat at all yesterday, I ran 6 miles, and I don't know whatever other symptoms you have, that provides a lot more context, so it can give a much better response. So again, I'd say that to a lot of physicians where, you probably can get really far with existing models already. You could use a model like Open Evidence, which is tailored specifically for clinicians. But if you give it more context, it could be like a JAMA article or a Nature article that's relevant to the specific question you're asking. Just copy the whole thing, Control A, Control C, Control V, paste it in with your prompt as well. That adds so much more context, and it will make the output of your prompts or your questions so much better.
I see. So then, and I suppose that's the reason why the OpenAI came up with a healthcare-specific engine, AI engine, and also Google is working on that too. But I hear a lot of terms like ontology.
Okay.
How could something like that help healthcare AI?
Sure. Well, I mean, ontology, and that's not a new term by any means. It's existed, I don't know, since the beginning of English. But it's a framework, right? It's a thinking framework and the way that you structure data. So that way when you have one entity, you can see how it relates to other entities and also like the hierarchies and even permissions possibly. You know, I think how that relates is, you know, to a large extent, a lot of EMRs, a lot of database systems, they kind of treat each entity as separate and being, okay, you're the patient, we'll call you the patient today. So patient Joseph Yoon, you have your profile, you know, your date of birth, whatever. But then in a separate thing, you have like your medication history, you have your intake history, and then you have like whatever other information could be gathered. And in a large extent, a lot of those things are kind of disjointed. They are still related to you, but it's not proper in you know, they're in their own separate tables, and you don't always, a lot of times when you access your patient portal as a human, you just access it one at a time, you know? And that's the problem when you are trying to give an agent or an AI system a proper ability to create a diagnosis. The more context you can give and the better context you can give, the better the results will be. And so that's where treating you more as like a complete unit, having a more holistic view of all your data and all your metrics is always going to be so much better for an AI system to properly make a diagnostic. And so that's where if you have a proper structured ontology of who you are, any information related to you and how it relates to you, and then when your AI agent goes to, you know, assess a particular question about you, such as why do I have a fever, being able to have rich context like that and be able to understand the relationships from an ontology type structure helps so much with being able to give a proper response.
I see. Well, there's no question that the AI has a tremendous amount of knowledge. And it can communicate or find the optimal solution and communicate to us in a human-like manner. So it has a tremendous potential to be used in healthcare. But I guess, as you said, giving it proper context and to improve the outcome, we have a long way to go in terms of how we can use AI in healthcare to be more efficient and with the better outcome.
I think so, but you know, already some good glimpses of hope, and it's already helping a lot of people like yourself already. So.
Oh yes.
Excited to see how far
it's becoming a daily tool.
Did you just mention it caught something recently in your own life, and it was like something that wouldn't have been caught otherwise?
Yes. So a rare condition called Ramsay Hunt Syndrome. My wife caught it, and she went to urgent care, and urgent care physician missed it. And then we entered that into the AI agent and gave us a differential diagnosis with the one at the top as a Ramsay Hunt Syndrome.
And that was correct?
Yeah, in that case, the starting antiviral therapy as soon as possible is very crucial.
Interesting.
So the time was of essence, so we were able to start it right away.
And the doctor missed it?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Wow.
So it could happen.
It could happen, and the AI didn't. Wow.
Yeah. So I think recently there was a study in university, I believe it was Harvard, that compared the AI aided the diagnostic accuracy in emergency room versus human only, and
what did it look like?
Yeah, it was AI team won out
really?
hands down. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think AI will become part of healthcare from now on.
Yeah. Well, if it produces better results and healthier people, it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. Yeah.
And so that'll conclude our podcast today. And I thank you for giving us such an erudite explanation of
Thank you for your time.
what AI is. Thank you.
Bye.